I-9 compliance in the age of Trump 2.0. That is our exciting topic for today's Live at Lunch. My name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law. And as I said, today we're talking about I-9 compliance. First of all, none of this is legal advice. If you are a client of mine, of Sumner Immigration Law, I am happy to give you specific advice, specific information. Feel free to contact me. If you need immigration advice, feel free to contact us for a consultation. We're happy to help, but this information is for educational purposes only. So in the second Trump administration, immigration compliance and enforcement is going to be a huge topic for sure. It was during the first Trump administration, and we've already seen indications that it will be in the second administration as well. And regardless of who's in office, it is important to make sure that you are complying with the immigration regulations and requirements. So what is the I-9? Form I-9 is a form that every employer has to complete and employee has to complete to ensure that their employees are work authorized in the United States. In addition, E-Verify is an electronic system to verify a employee or potential employees verification to verify that they are work authorized as well. The E-Verify system is not required across the board at this point. It is required for certain federal contractors, for employers who hire foreign national students who are using STEM OPT, for employers in certain states, and it may be expanded during the Trump administration to be in place nationwide. But for now, it's not mandatory for absolutely everyone. So completing and maintaining I-9s, what do you need to know? I think the most important thing in talking about I-9 compliance is to create a system, a documented system for compliance, to make sure everyone is on the same page, and then to make sure that you provide training to anyone who is involved in completing and maintaining I-9 forms. So when you are completing an I-9 form, you want to make sure, of course, that there are signatures that are required, all the signatures that are required on the forms, that they are dated, that no information is missing, that there is not expired documentation that is being recorded or maintained in I-9s, with the exception, and this gets complicated, there are some times where a document will be expired. For example, an employment authorization document will be expired on its face and it's been automatically extended by regulation. That's confusing for sure. It's something that I have to look up anytime an employer or a client asks me, hey, Emily, is this okay for I-9 compliance? I'm happy to answer those questions for our clients. But no, just because you certainly don't want to have expired documents and then not follow up and not have a compliant I-9, but you also don't want to reject a document that is expired on its face when it's in fact valid. So know that that is a possibility. If your I-9s are not completed properly, if they're missing signatures, if they have incorrect information, if they have discrepancies, if they are outdated, things like that, then if you have a visit from ICE through an inspection or an audit, you can, as the employer, have fines imposed on you, penalties, and even criminal liability. So this is not something to take lightly. It seems like it's just paperwork. It's just a matter of filling out a form. And it really is a lot more than that. During the previous Trump administration, there was a significant increase in the number of I-9 audits. And we expect that again during the second administration. So how can you prepare? How can you deal with this? Like I said, make sure that you have a written documentation, a documented written process for preparing the I-9 forms. The I-9 handbook is online. It's very helpful in terms of how to complete the I-9. So that might be a good starting point, but you want to make sure that everybody in the company, whoever's dealing with I-9s, knows that you cannot ask for specific documentation. So for example, if you have an employee beginning and you think that they may be a foreign national for whatever reason, you can't say, oh, let me see your green card or let me see your work authorization. You have to give them the list of acceptable documents and let them choose which documents to present, and then compare that to the list, whatever they present, compared to the list, complete the I-9. You don't have to, as an employer, you are not required to investigate the legitimacy of a document. If it looks valid on its face, then you can accept it. But like I said, you can't ask for specific documentation. Don't make assumptions because that can get into national origin discrimination. So make sure that you have a documented system. Make sure that everybody is well trained on how, whoever's completing the I-9s, whoever's involved in this, make sure that they are well trained on how to complete and retain an I-9, knowing when you need to update an I-9, how to take corrective action and when you need to take corrective action on an I-9, and talk about avoiding discrimination, like I said, assuming that a person has X status or asking for specific documentation is not permitted. It never has been. Make sure that you have a, think about having an internal audit now, and just or on a regular basis, just regularly reviewing or auditing your I-9s. If you are a larger employer or you have a more complicated set of I-9s, you may want to engage with an immigration attorney or an I-9 compliance attorney. There are attorneys who are not necessarily immigration lawyers, but who still advise with I-9 matters. Anyway, you might want to engage with your internal counsel or outside counsel to make sure that it's reviewed properly, make sure that everything is done properly. But regardless, it's a good idea, whichever way you go, it is a good idea to regularly do an audit to make sure that you are compliant to the best of your ability. And then if you see things that need to be corrected, taking corrective action as you're supposed to, as it's laid out in the I-9 handbook. And then the last tip that I would have in terms of I-9 compliance for now, it's a big topic and we could go on and on for a long time, but make sure that you have a written internal process for how you would respond to an I-9 audit. So you don't want to wait until the day that somebody comes knocking on your door and says, hey, let me see your I-9s. You want to make sure that you have a written process and that everyone knows exactly what that process is. So for example, you want to designate who is the point of contact. If there is an I-9 audit or investigation, who is the point of contact within your company that's going to be the point of contact, head up this effort to respond? Who is the lawyer that you're going to contact? And I'm not just saying this because I'm a lawyer, but I really don't recommend that you respond without counsel involved, without an attorney involved to help you respond appropriately. So who is that counsel going to be? Do you have an existing relationship with them, or do you need to reach out to some potential attorneys and have some people that you can call on if and when this happens? Make sure that you, as I've said this before, but in terms of the potential for an audit, make sure you have a written documented system for how you request and accept documentations for I-9s. Like I said, you can't request specific documentation. And like I said, know that there are going to be times potentially where an employee presents documentation for an I-9 that looks like it's expired, and it is expired, the date has passed, but it's still okay, could still be okay for purposes of I-9. It could be auto extended. So you can't just assume that because a document is expired that you have to reject it. So make sure that everybody is well trained on that. And then finally, make sure that you're aware, keep up with the changes I know there are a lot of changes. I know I'm living that every day. But to the extent possible, keep up with changes. There may be changes in the remote verification process going forward, and you may need to make internal adjustments to that as well. You don't want to be caught off guard and not know about that. So try your best to keep up with all of the changes. I know it's a lot. All of this information is a lot and it seems overwhelming, but know that we are here to help. When I say we, I mean we, Sumner Immigration Law. I am Emily Sumner. I'm here to help. And just immigration lawyers in general, we are here to help. There's a lot going on, a lot of changes, and we are here to help you, to support you, and to educate you, and to advise you. So we are happy to help. If you have questions about this, if you would like to do an internal I-9 audit, we are happy to assist with that as well. Or if you just have questions about I-9 compliance or developing a program for I-9 compliance, we're happy to help. But I really think in an environment like this, preparation is the key, making sure that you are doing things correctly to the best of your ability, making sure that you have documented processes, and making sure that you have a training system in place for anyone who's involved in the I-9 process. I hope that you found this information helpful. If so, I would love for you to share this video with a friend or a colleague, and make sure that you subscribe to this platform, our channel on this platform, to make sure you don't miss our next videos. Our next Live at Lunch will be next Tuesday at noon Eastern. I look forward to seeing you all then. I'm so glad that you've joined us, whether you've joined us live or caught the replay. Otherwise, my name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law, helping foreign nationals and their employers and families across the United States and around the world. Until next time.